I mean, Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel it's quite inappropriate.
You're an Islamophobe, and although you live here, I want you to know, as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city, because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence.
Wow. I mean, just wow. I want you to conceptualize how crazy this is. Imagine telling Americans that only 24 years after 9/11, you would have radical Islamists elected to public office in the United States and using that position to tell Christian Americans quite literally that they are no longer welcome within their own country. You probably think we honestly lost the war on terror, and maybe there's a genuine argument to be made for that. But in today's video, I want to react to this viral exchange seen out of a city council meeting in Dearborn, Michigan. This is a heavily Arab Muslim majority town thanks to mass immigration. And apparently what's going on now is that after a Christian American approaches the city council and expresses genuine and very real concerns over the fact that the county is apparently renaming a street in that area after someone who was pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah, and pro-Islamic extremism in many different ways. That's the response, apparently, that the mayor got. Angry, belligerent, and basically telling you, get the F out of this town. You're not welcome here if you do not endorse and support Islamic extremism. And that, of course, makes you apparently a hateful bigot. This, again, is what we're dealing with. And it's worth noting, too, by the way, this is far from exclusively an American problem. As a matter of fact, many other nations in the West, specifically European ones, the UK has massive issues with it, are dealing with this even worse. And frankly, I think we're at the point now where it's safe to say, if we are not careful, this is coming to us as well. So we'll talk about this. I want to give my thoughts. We'll react to the full exchange and kind of give you the full context in today's video. But really, I hope that the opening clip speaks for itself. Yes, this is what we're dealing with. You're not welcome in your own country anymore. So that said, guys, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And that said, I actually want to start today's video by playing something I just saw on Instagram last night before I saw this story out of the UK that really shows you the mentality here that we're dealing with, right? When we talk about the, Shariaification, the jihadification of Western areas, it's important to point out, right? This is not about having some type of like racist or bigoted conspiracy theory against Muslims or something like that. No, this is about the fact that en masse, you are bringing people into Western countries who are saying openly, whether it's this mayor or whether it's the person we're about to play, that like, no, we don't respect where we are. We're going to turn this place into an Islamic something, right? An Islamic society. And we're very proud of that. And it's frankly culturally and politically suicidal for a Western nation to look at that person, no matter where they come from, and say, yeah, you want to like topple and overthrow our entire country? Welcome to our country, right? So that said, take a listen here again to this video I just saw yesterday, where this Muslim man in the UK tells a British woman that, quote, he does not respect the law of the land if it's not Islamic, and that non-Muslim leaders can go to hell. Just so you get an idea, again, this is not some type of small fringe thing. This is like what is being produced right now as a result of the West's own immigration policies, and it frankly doesn't actually make any logical sense. Take a listen.
The solution, if Muslim people are in the wrong and they are committing crimes, no one's above the law.
If the law of the land is Islamic, we will respect the law of the land.
What if it's not Islamic?
If it's not Islamic, then the law of the land and those who make it can go to hell, quite honestly, because Allah said in the Quran, in chapter 33, verse 1, he said, O Prophet, fear Allah and do not obey the disbelievers and the hypocrites. Is David Cameron a Muslim or a disbeliever? Guys,
I can't speak on camera.
So you can't obey him. So he can go to hell, as well as all of the other leaders.
Do you think I should go to hell?
Let me tell you something.
I'm a non-Muslim.
You're on your way to the hellfire because you're a non-Muslim. All non-Muslims are destined for the hellfire.
Do you really believe that?
Yes, and you will be fueled for the hellfire as well. But the fact is that you have an opportunity to change.
That hurts me to think that you think that of me, because you don't really know me, and you think I'm destined to hell because I'm non-Muslim.
You said you're not a Muslim, so that's enough for me to know that you're not Muslim. If you're not Muslim, you're destined for the hellfire unless you change.
Yeah, so keep this video in mind because we need to understand the mentality here. And look, you can respond to it by having a lot of debates about religion or culture or demography, a lot of different things. But honestly, let's just break that down on the most basic level. So here you have a guy who openly says he does not respect the laws of the land. He does not respect the laws or the leaders or the structure, the rules, the anything of the UK, which is a society that either he has immigrated to or he's a byproduct of recent immigration. I don't know which one. It doesn't change the actual story here. What kind of sane country? Again, forget race, forget religion, forget it, the most basic thing ever. Allows someone to immigrate to their country who openly and proudly is saying, no, I do not respect the laws of the country. Like that is so simple, right? I mean, there's plenty of other conversations that need to be had about things like culture, about assimilation. But hey, again, the most basic thing, like, do you follow the laws? Are we importing someone who's going to have respect for the basic legal laws, not even the cultural norms, the legal laws of the society? He is saying no. And this country, being the UK, and by the way, the United States and a lot of Western countries have said to people like this, welcome in. And by the way, if you criticize that, that makes you apparently some type of bigot. It's bigoted to say that you don't want people immigrating to your country who like openly and say in their own freaking words, they're not exactly hiding it. We have no respect for this place. We don't want to follow the laws. And our open stated goal is to overthrow the existing system and install a Sharia law-based Islamic system instead. There's no other word to describe this policy or this mentality of saying, yes, like this is a good product of what immigration should be as just suicidal for our country. I mean, again, very simple, very basic stuff here. So that said, keeping all of this in mind again, I want to bring you now to what we just saw out of Dearborn, Michigan, where this individual, who is a Dearborn resident, by the way, not sure how long he's lived in Dearborn, but that could be another question. His name is Ted Barhman. This is a Christian man. Obviously, you can see as well a white man, stating here that he was very upset over the naming of a street in the area after the Arab American news publisher Osama Siblani. Now, the reasons why he lays out for you, as you can see, include the fact that this guy stated, and I quote, he's a promoter of Hezbollah and Hamas, before quoting past remarks from Siblani, including that he talks about how the blood of martyrs irrigates the land of Palestine, whether we are in Michigan or whether we are in Yemen, which is a pretty crazy thing to say. So this guy's not only talking about like a struggle or a violent jihad in Palestine where you have an active war going on, he's also endorsing the one in Yemen, which, by the way, are the Houthi rebels, I believe, being referred to there, which is a designated terrorist organization by the United States, as well as in Michigan, which is that an open call for violent jihad in Michigan? Like a pretty crazy statements, needless to say, right? Totally valid thing to bring up. You're about to see the mayor of Dearborn gets very offended over this. But the quote further goes on to say, believe me, everyone should fight within his means. They will fight with stones, others will fight with guns, others will fight with planes, drones, and rockets. So again, and he mentioned Michigan, so that's a pretty open call for violent jihad in the United States. Needless to say, Mr. Ted Barham brings up a completely legitimate concern about, hey, why are we naming a street in our city and our county after someone who called for a violent toppling and violent jihad in the United States? Yes, again, this seems like pretty basic stuff. Same thing I said, if you're going to immigrate to a country, on the most basic level, you should have respect for the laws of the country. Well, same thing here, right? If you're going to name a American street after someone, it probably shouldn't be someone who wanted to have a violent jihad in the United States. Like, this stuff is not complicated. I don't think it's particularly controversial. But that said, let's now tune in and listen to the full exchange that went down at the city council meeting last night, because you'll see just how insane this all gets.
I'm quoting, irrigates the land of Palestine. And then further quotes, he talks about how the terrorists should strike them with knives and with their bare hands, and they're victorious. And he also encourages the use of rockets over there. And then another quote from 2022, We are the Arabs who are going to lift Palestinians all the way to victory, whether we are in Michigan and whether we are in Jenin. So the reason why I mentioned this is that it sounds like he could be inciting violence in Michigan. Believe me, I'm continuing the quotation. He says, believe me.
He's not. I just want to be clear. He can speak for himself.
Well, this is speaking for himself.
I'm going to stop you because he's not a violent person, and you can interpret his words any way you want, but I will guarantee you he is not intending to incite violence anywhere in the world.
Well,
And he could defend himself if he were here, but
Sure.
we're not going to allow personal attacks in our community.
Okay, well,
So reading his own words is personal attacks. Now keep in mind, this is exactly what they've been doing after the death of Charlie Kirk. And oftentimes they're misquoting him, but in this case, like, we're reading his own words and they're saying that's a personal attack. And again, we just read the statement. Some will fight with guns, some will fight with rockets and drones. Like, what is he saying there? And they're saying, don't personally attack him, guys. Okay. Well, as you're about to see, the no personal attacks argument is about to result in personal attacks against the guy who's trying to bring up legitimate concerns. So let's keep on playing.
I mean, I'm just reading his words here.
That's fine, but
They
you're
seem
interpreting his words after you read them. He did not use the word violence, did he?
Well, may I continue the rest of the quote?
Well, if you say you want to read them, you can read them. If you want to interpret and give your own opinion of what he's thinking, that's a different story.
Okay. Sure. I mean, I'd love to discuss this. I just want to finish the quote because there's more. Okay, I'll continue. Whether we are in Michigan and whether we are in Jenin, believe me, everyone should fight within his means. They will fight with stones, others will fight with guns, others will fight with planes, drones, and rockets. Others will fight with their voices, and others will fight with their hands and say, free, free Palestine. So I just find it very concerning. Did my 3 minutes include other people's words
that's
as
okay.
well?
There was some dialogue, but as the councilman indicated, and just we wanted to make sure you be careful, when you're talking about incitement or riot, there's legal terminations for that. There's legal precedent for that, and that's what the councilman has indicated, that you're drawing a conclusion that you have the right to draw. But as I indicated, the sign was placed from the county in that location. So did you have...
Okay, like, the argument is not whether, legally speaking, he incited violence. The argument is someone who says crazy blank like that really someone that should be honored in a county in the United States in Michigan, okay? A state that was settled and founded by, newsflash, I guess, people who probably would not support a statement like that, let me just say. That's what the discussion is here, just to be clear.
Anything else you'd like to speak on?
Well, it seems very provocative to have those signs up there. I mean, I also appreciate how he has helped people to sympathize with, the people of Palestine, people of Lebanon. As you know, I've lived in Lebanon. I also lived in Israel. I've stayed for several weeks in Palestine. And I feel like, but despite that, I feel like having that sign up there, it's almost like having, naming a street, Hezbollah Street or Hamas Street. I mean, Hezbollah, bombed the embassy in Beirut, and including many Americans. So I just feel that's quite inappropriate. And as a Christian, I would like to encourage peace. I'm not just being like, pro-Israel in this and fight back and that sort of thing. But I would like to encourage peace and not violence. Actually, I'd like to quote from the words of someone who had the same enemy. It was Jewish people who killed Jesus. He was Jewish, but his fellow Jewish people killed him. And he said, the one who lives by the sword will die by the sword. And what I would like to encourage on the other side is peace. He is called the Prince of Peace, and he said, blessed are the peacemakers. And his death at the hands of Jewish people opens the door to peace between Jewish and non-Jewish people. So that's what I would like to actively try to encourage to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Barhman.
Okay, so I like to really ask here, does this sound like someone who's some type of like just hateful, crazy person, right? Did he show up to the city council just screaming or acting like a lunatic? No, he was being very calm. He's being respectful. He was talking about how he likes peace. I mean, he's lived in both Israel and Lebanon, He's quoting from the Bible. He's telling that whole story. He's talking about how much he does not, his basic concern here is more so that he doesn't want to be naming or honoring people who celebrated calls for violence, right? The whole thing is an extremely reasonable argument, like, just to be clear, right? This is not some type of raving lunatic. He's very articulate. He knows exactly what he's talking about. That's why we bring up the question of, now, how does this crazy mayor respond? So,
Sir, if you'd like to step forward.
I think the only comment I'm going to make, is not
Mayor?
looking for a rebuttal, is the best suggestion I have for you is to not drive on Warren Avenue, or to close your eyes while you're doing it. His name is up there, and I spoke at a ceremony celebrating it because he's done a lot for this community. And I think it's quite hypocritical to know that you're approaching this podium when you yourself have videos on YouTube standing in front of my mosque saying the cruelest of things about Muslims, about the religion of Islam, because you are a bigot, and you are a racist, and you are an Islamophobe. And although you live here, I want you to know, as mayor, you are not welcome here. And the day you move out of the city will be the day that I launch a parade celebrating the fact that you moved out of the city. Because you are not somebody who believes in coexistence. You're somebody who tries to preach it, but in fact you do everything but that. So I just want to put that on the record.
really, is that so, Abu Mariam, whatever your name is here, the mayor? I believe it is you who does not believe in coexistence. If you, as the elected mayor of this city, that's how you're going to treat the people who raise genuine concerns. By the way, no actual response to the arguments, right? Because, it sounds to me you're a highly aggressive person. I'm going to honestly take a wild guess. You probably fully support this Osama Siblani guy and fully in his statements. And again, that is what we're dealing with. You have a mayor of a city telling Christian American residents of that place, you're not welcome here. You need to get out of the city. We will celebrate when you leave, apparently. Very fitting and becoming behavior, obviously, of some type of public official, right? Utter insanity. And, it goes on here. Other residents raise concerns. But apparently, guys, right? If you don't want places in your town named after terrorist sympathizers, it makes you a bigot. Okay. Well, with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. What do you think of the utter insanity here on full display? Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.